If we go back to 1913, if you had a $1 gold coin, which is a 20th of an ounce, where you had a $1 silver coin, you could have bought 11 loaves of bread with any of those. If you go to today and you can get maybe a third of a loaf with that dollar bill, you can get roughly 11 loaves of bread with this 1 ounce silver coin. It holds its purchasing power. That is the single most important function that money was supposed to do.
COVID scared me. How much freedom people just gave up. Oh, no cash. It really shook up the entire world really, really quickly.
But I'll tell you what gives me a little bit of hope around that is actually China, because the people started to protest. And I think this was all a big test. How far can we push people? And they do use fear. Never let a good crisis go to waste, right? So yeah, for sure, they totally do use fear. And this next crisis that's coming up is going to be the scariest of them all, which is why it is critically important for people to be as self-sufficient and independent and have physical gold and silver outside of the system. But you also have to have food, water, energy, security, as well as barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. Because if you do not have those things in place, when the poopy really hits the fan coming up, and we're not that far from there, right? Then, do you remember what happened in March and April of 2020? Grocery store shelves were bare. She says she didn't, but this is true. Jacqueline called me up frantic because she couldn't find toilet paper. Frantic. I had plenty because, I started really prepping in 2008. I knew the system died because I've been studying currency life cycles forever. And, it scared the crap out of me. I was glad that they put us on life support to give me an opportunity to get ready for this. So in March of 2020 in April, I'm walking around my urban farm, and I'm not a farmer by nature. I'm going to own that title now. But back then, I wasn't a gardener. I wasn't a farmer. That was not my thing. But I knew that food becomes the single biggest issue for people as we transition from one currency system into another one. And hasn't the World Economic Forum telling us we need a complete global reset socially, economically, and financially? Well, believe it. I've been talking about the reset ever since I heard Christine Lagarde, which that audio has subsequently been deleted. But in a Bloomberg interview in a half an hour, she probably mentioned the word reset like 30 times or something. It was ridiculous. It was so obvious. And I went, holy crap, this is it. So, the public needs to get ready for this. Arguably, your foundation needs to be in wealth preservation, because if you are sitting with those fiat money assets and the value of that currency gets hyperinflated away, trillion times zero is zero. Sorry, but that's just a fact. And that's how they transfer the wealth, is by getting you, it's called perception management, getting you to position the way they want you to position. So if you hold all your wealth inside the system, it's so easy to steal. Look at the trading halts. Look at these REITs saying, nope, sorry, no distributions. Look at the gates and the different things that they put on money market funds where people think they're like a savings account. But if a lot of people want to get their money all at once, guess what's going to happen? The answer is going to be no. And what are you going to do? Who are you going to yell at? Who are you going to talk to? What door are you going to pound on? It doesn't matter. We have been transitioned into primarily an intangible society, getting us used to that. But I got news for you. There's somebody that owns every single asset on the planet. Wealth does not disappear. It merely shifts location. So if you have a real money that is not tied to this debt bubble, which is gold and silver, then you're in a position to take advantage of the opportunities present. Why do you think global central banks have been loading up like gold, like the highest levels ever since 1967? What was happening then? Oh yeah, we were transitioning from a gold-backed currency to a debt-based currency. Who do you think knew that? The central banks.
You've given in other interviews an example of how gold preserves wealth better than fiat currency.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you use bread as an example. Would you mind sharing that?
Oh, absolutely. If we go back to 1913 when this experiment started, if you had a $1 gold coin, which is a 20th of an ounce, maybe half the size of my pinky fingernail, where you had a $1 silver coin, where you had a $1 silver certificate, you could have bought 11 loaves of bread with any of those, the three of them. If you go to today, and not exactly today because I didn't do the calculations, but I'll get you pretty close. You can get maybe a third of a loaf with that dollar bill. You can get roughly 11 loaves of bread with this 1 ounce silver coin, but you can get about 135 loaves of bread with that $1 20th of an ounce gold coin. I mean, it holds its purchasing power. That is the single most important function that money was supposed to do. But fiat money, that dollar bill, by design, if you go back to when they were creating it, they knew that not one man in a million understood inflation. And that inflation creates what's called nominal confusion, because the government wanted to be able to tax you without you knowing about it. So there's that inflation tax that we hear about. Corporations wanted to pay you less, but knew if you were used to getting $10, you weren't going to accept $5. If, however, that $10 spent like $5, well, look at all the income and wealth inequality. So this system, by design, was created to rob you of what you really have, which is your work, your time. Gold prevents that. And historically, I mean, we've got thousands of years to look at. So yes, they suppress the price. So people might say, well, how come gold prices is so much higher? Because it's really simple. A rising gold price is an indication of a failing currency. And when you really understand that this currency, this fiat money that they can print at will is dying, then you start to make different choices. This is good money. And the other point that is so important that I never really hear anybody talk about it is, why has gold and silver never, ever, ever gone to zero? Because fiat money in stock markets and bond markets, they can't say that. They've gone to zero over 4,800 times. But gold and silver hasn't. You know why? Because they have the broadest functionality and the broadest base of users. Physical silver and gold are used in every single sector of the global economy. Used in finance, used in art, used in food, used in engineering, used in space travel, on and on and on and on. So when you're going into a fight, and we are entering a fight for your freedom in your life and your choices and your children's, right? What do you want? You want something that's only accepted in one place, the financial, and so when nobody trusts it, that's it, it's done. Or do you want a flipping arsenal? May go up, may go down. True supply and demand, not on the spot market, because they can create as much silver and gold as they want. But in the physical only realm, oh yeah, we're seeing premiums rise. We're seeing prices rise, regardless of what happens on the spot market. So just think about, I mean, I think that is like the most important thing that nobody ever talks about.